Okay. Hold on. We gotta quickly give my mom some coffee. So. Hold on, Mom. My mom's fresh brewed coffee. Mom.
Thank you.
Here you go. All right. Now we can start making some pasta. Hold on. I'm going to fix this camera angle real quick over here on YouTube. So we're live right now on YouTube and on Amazon. So first is what you're going to need is some fresh ingredients. One of those being pasta or spaghetti, shall I say. This one I got from Costco, freshly opened. This looks like, what, 8 packets, so it could last you, well, me, probably, honestly, 2 months or something, like a pasta a week. With the 8 packets, there's a sound going on here in the kitchen. We're just gonna need one of these. The rest you can keep for later, or make something else if you find out this recipe is not for you. All right, let's just fix this. So we're gonna start with our big pan here. You're gonna want like a pan with high sides on the end. No, the sides tall. Preferably do not whack it against your countertop. Right now we're not adding water, that'll be our last step. One of the cabinets are really making a noise whenever I close the door. Anyways, we have the minimum amount of spaghetti you need, or whatever type of noodles you're making, is around 12 ounces. Now, depending, here I have roughly 18 ounces, which is fine. It would just change the amount of water that you're gonna need. Today we're gonna use 4 cups of water. In other videos I've used 4.5, but I noticed it's just too much water. So I reduced it, and we'll see how it goes. All right, so once you have roughly 12 ounces of your spaghetti, you're going to add 1 onion fully sliced, and you could slice it to however large you want the slices of onions to be. My mom sliced this onion for me, and personally, she could have cut them smaller, but that's okay, because she helped me out a ton today, because we found out today that the tomatoes I bought yesterday, and this is what I mean, you need to make sure your ingredients are fresh. Yesterday, I went to a store, got the tomatoes to make this pasta, cut them open today, and found out the tomatoes were just not right, so I quickly had to drive to a different store to buy fresh tomatoes for us today. So today, after you have your 1 onion sliced, you could add minimum 12 ounces of tomatoes. I'm using a whole package of tomatoes I bought, which ends up being double 24 ounces. Personally, last time I made this recipe, I felt like it needed more tomatoes for me. So I doubled the tomato amount, and yeah, that's what we have for today. All right, now on to, before we do the water, we're going to go through the spices. And the first one we have today is salt, which we will need, let me see, 2 teaspoons of salt. This angle is just like not right, and I don't know how to get it right. Okay, 2 teaspoons. And these are like rough estimates. If you want to add more of something, feel free to do so. If you don't want to add something, like later we're going to add red pepper flakes. If you don't want that to have a little spice in your pasta, then don't add it. It's your pasta. Make it how you think you'll like it. If this is your first time, I suggest making it how I'm making it, or how I've listed it in the description below. just to see how it is your first time, and then adjust it as if you want to make it again. All right, next I have here is pepper, which we'll need 1/4 teaspoon of. And honestly, if you want, you can stop right there and start adding your water and start cooking. But I'm gonna add a few more spices. The next is going to be garlic. Now, you could get a fresh garlic, 4 fresh garlic cloves, and it would be completely fine. Just crush them up and put it in. You'll just need 4 cloves if you have fresh garlic. I have powdered garlic, so I am going to have 1 teaspoon of garlic, which is gonna be around 4 cloves. And be sure when you're adding your spices and seasoning that you're sprinkling around just to make sure it gets coated in everything and just makes it easier so you don't have to stir. All right, the next thing we're going to do is add 1/4 teaspoon of red pepper flakes. Now, if you want a more kick to it, feel free to add more. Sometimes I add a little bit more, like right now. My mom doesn't quite like it, but that's fine because she'll still eat it. She'll just not have as much as she usually does, so more for us. Because for my mom, it's a bit too spicy. And if you're also sick, it helps clear your nose and all your sinuses. And just make sure you have a napkin next to you. And then finally, right before we add the water, we're going to add parsley. No, this is not parsley. This is basil and parsley. You could either have one of these, or like I'm gonna do, have both. So if you were just gonna have parsley or basil, you would just need 2 tablespoons. But since I'm doing one of each, I'm doing a tablespoon of each. And I'm just doing this because, well, I have the ingredients to do it. And as you can see, my basil is running low. So when that runs low, and I want to make this pasta again at home, I'm just going to use the parsley. Basil. I am not sure what I said for a moment, if I named the right seasoning or not. A lot has happened in the last 30 minutes, and yeah. All right. We have added all of our seasoning, spices. That would have been bad if that all just flew around the kitchen. Also, I apologize if you hear my sink, because I hear it and it's a bit distracting. All right, before we add our water, because this is going to make the pan heavy, move the pan with all your ingredients, as it looks like Christmas with the red and green. Put it on the put it on the stove, preferably where you want to cook it, and then add your 4 cups of water. That was the first time water spilled outside of the pan. And I've made this recipe a few times. All right, and so now, before you turn on your stove, be sure to turn on your fan. And then set your stove, I would say, to medium-high. And right now you are not going to use the lid, because the lid helps heat it up, but it won't help cook through the ingredients. Right now, I am not setting a timer because we're going to wait for the water to boil. And make sure you still have your pasta package, because it'll tell you how much, spaghetti package, because it'll tell you how long your spaghetti needs to cook for. So when my water is at boiling, I need to set a timer for 11 minutes, and then check the pasta to see if it needs more time or if it's ready to eat. Now, as we're waiting the water to boil, go ahead and figure out what cheese you want on top of your pasta, because I like to add cheese. We've added Parmesan. I believe in the refrigerator we have Gouda, but it's in a cheese block, which I'll show you real quick. If I can find it. Okay, it's not much of a block anymore, more just like a rectangular cheese of whatever's left over. This one, in order to add it to our toppings, I'm gonna have to grate it. So that's what I'm gonna do right now. I need to find a plate though. So give me a moment. We're gonna use a plastic plate just because it's the only one I could find where a smooth surface is, because it's easier to grate on something smooth than, well, not smooth. So you could completely skip this step, but since we're waiting for the water to boil, I'm gonna, well, cut the cheese so I could have it as a topping to add to the top of my pasta, as cheese just just flew at me. And you're just going to grate as much as you want. Now, you could either get a block of cheese or you could get cheese that's already shredded. Just depends how fresh you want your cheese to be and what type of cheese you like, and honestly, it's all your preference at this point. But yeah. Also, remember that this also has to be cleaned if you're grating cheese afterwards, because I feel like a lot of people just leave this off to the side, but you have to actually clean it afterwards, just like how you have to clean the pan and the spoon, as I realize I have not put our spoon there. Alright, I like to cook with wooden utensils, so that's what we have today. Just put it off to the side there to make sure I have it. And the reason why you need a utensil when the pasta is on the pan is because once in a while you want to move your spaghetti and the other ingredients there. One, to mix around the seasoning, but two, to ensure that your spaghetti, that your pasta, does not get stuck to the pan, because it will burn and it will not be fun then, because then that pasta will be stuck to the bottom of your pan while the ones on top will be like, where's my turn to be on the bottom? It's being overtaken by this pasta that is stuck there, and it's, yeah, sorry. I'm distracted by focusing on grating this cheese and trying to tell a story about pasta being stuck to the bottom of the pan. Also, if you make this, you don't eat it all right away, and you want to heat up a serving later, you could, but if you don't want to heat up all the pasta, you could grab a smaller pan, add a drizzle of water, and heat up only the portion you're going to eat in that moment, so therefore you're not heating up the whole pasta. Okay, I believe that's enough cheese. There's still more, so if I need more, I can always just grate some more later. Put this away real quick. Alright, now let's see how much cheese I actually did. Alright, that's a decent amount. My brother doesn't like cheese with his pasta, but my mom does, so her and I will use this. And if you don't use all the cheese that you just freshly shaved, do not leave it out if you're not eating it at the moment. What you want to do is add some type of wrap on top, either plastic wrap or aluminum, and just like cover your plate, and then stick it in the refrigerator so therefore it stays fresh and it doesn't become crusty. For the next time you want to add it to your pasta. Alright, let's see. The water is like on the edge of being boiled, but it's not quite, so we're going to wait a little bit more for that. There's just a tomato with like a bunch of seasoning on it. Ooh, I left the cabinet open. Also, earlier my brother went ahead and grabbed Smoothie King for me after his workout. So yeah, I just remembered it was over there, so. Also, while we're waiting for pasta to be boiling, recently went to Mexico and we bought some dark chocolate, Mexico chocolate. Apparently this company has been a company since 1903. Oh, it is in English. Thought it would be in Spanish. Apparently each chocolate bar tells a story of tradition and the history of their chocolate and how they celebrate Mexican culture. Okay. Alright, so we're going to try this. It's 75% chocolate. It looks like someone's already took a bit of the piece as it's already open and some of it's already gone. I wonder if it was my mom, my brother, or my dad. I know it wasn't my dog. Mainly because, well, he can't get up to the countertops because he's like around knee height, but yeah. Just realized I don't have a piece of chocolate to compare this to, but it tastes good. It doesn't taste as bitter as other chocolate that are like 72% chocolate. But yeah. So let's see. I'm seeing if there's any comments. Oops. Hold on. Nope, it doesn't look like any comments at the moment, which is completely fine. The water's at a boil, so I'm gonna put the timer. And I'll let y'all go because at this point it's just gonna be the same thing. Me just waiting for pasta to cook. Every once in a while, you're gonna have to stir. And you ask me, when am I gonna know when to stir the pasta? If you feel like you need to stir the pasta, stir it. Also, around every 90 seconds, I almost said 90 minutes, that would be incorrect. 90 seconds, just stir the pasta and like scrape the bottom and move the top pieces to the bottom and vice versa, and you'll be fine. And then after the timer of however long your package said to cook your spaghetti, check the pasta by taking preferably a fork, because a spoon would be quite, in my opinion, difficult to grab a piece of spaghetti. So take a fork, take a little bit, like one spaghetti strand, try it, see if it's hard or if it's like edible, basically is how I would describe it. And then grab preferably a bowl that you would use for soup, put it in, add your cheese if you want, other toppings as well. If you add other toppings, be sure to comment it down below so I could see and decide if I want to try it as well. Alright, but if you have any questions, be sure to put in the comments below and we'll see y'all next time. Bye!